Welcome back to the desert, sir.
Thank you.
A little different than it looks like in the summertime, huh?
I'm ready to mud bog.
Yeah, right? Much like the seasons changing throughout the year, my ideas and whims could change by the moment. I like to keep it exciting, and I'm glad Alan's here for the ride. Got this little switcheroo going on in the shop also. It's a little something different than we've done before.
Okay.
And we've done some crazy stuff.
Whew, here we go. What is
This
this?
is the rolling chassis of our next project.
Man.
When he calls me to come out, I'm pretty clueless to what we're gonna do until I get here, and then he drops the bomb. I mean, I didn't know what direction we were going. There's nothing besides a chassis.
It's a little bit of a lot of things. It's a 1938 Cadillac chassis, and I just wanted to update everything. So it's got the classic Camaro front clip. Whole drivetrain is Lincoln Mark 7, 1987. Ford 5.0 high output engine, automatic trans, four-wheel disc, power steering, and air suspension. Ta-da.
38 Cadillac, isn't it supposed to be like,
Like 2 feet longer, yeah.
wow.
It's a 100-inch wheelbase now. I shortened the chassis way up. I moved the engine back about 20 inches and lowered that down to the ground, and then C-notched the rear end.
Nice.
This is pretty serious business, but don't take me too serious. We're building a full-on clown car here. When you're standing next to it, I want you to feel a little nervous.
Well, it's working because I'm already nervous and I'm standing right next to it.
I think Alan's an artist at heart, so I know that he is down for this kooky idea. Consider this a blank slate. There's nothing going on here. What we're gonna put on is really where the figuring out and the styling comes in.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh, I saw the look in his eyes.
I got a whole trailer full of potential. You gotta see this. This is ye old, carefully curated pile of parts.
Look like a pile of scraps to me.
What?
You know, I'm walking up to the trailer and I'm seeing all these parts, and I guess there's a little potential in there, but I mean, really, you're just like,
Look at this. Look at that tail light.
Okay, give it a couple points.
Look at these.
I'll see you.
Look at the
Okay.
benders.
so this is a luxury scrap pile.
It's a luxury scrap pile. It's not your average scrap pile. Look at the hood.
The hood looks like the size of the chassis.
Yes, it does. Well, it's a whole 1938 Cadillac body, and then a little Dodge thrown on the back for good measure. You got a lot of curves. You got a lot of cool accessories. We're gonna build our own version of this kind of shape of sheet metal.
It's like, oh man, here we go again.
I'm up for the challenge.
I think you need some help with your optimism, my man. Let's get this in the shop, and you're gonna see the light.
I need to see something because all I see is scrap.
He doesn't give me much. It's kind of, he leaves me on the edge every time. He gives me just enough to know what we're doing at the moment, but I don't know which direction we're gonna go with it. It's pretty nerve-wracking a little bit.
Yeah, look at that. Laid on the ground. That's got character.
Man, looking at it like that's a little different.
Here, take that jack and raise her up and lower her down. Right?
Ooh, buddy. No, that's super low. That's when you're scared of heights.
Plop it on down. Look at that, man.
Ooh, baby, now that looks good.
Right? I mean, this is par for the course. My ideas always take a little bit of warming up to. You know, it starts with, wow, this guy's nuts. And then it's like, wow, this has got potential, but this guy's still nuts. But let's do it. How are you gonna send that to the scrapyard?
Man, I see it now. Shame on me.
Talking all that scrap.
I know.
You gotta see the front fenders, it gets even better. Yeah, dude, look at the flow. Up, and then up again, all the way to the front.
Sexy, sexy.
See how the wheelbase changes everything?
It changes the entire,
It's not a big limousine,
no. Sit there and be like Cruella de Vil.
right? My thought was the headlights either level with the hood or just a little bit above the hood. I mean, the whole hood just pancaked. You see what I'm feeling, man?
It's all attitude.
I mean, I think it's a super cool look.
No, it really is. And when you look at the wheels, where the wheels sit and the fender sits, you look like you have no engine in there.
This is one of the reasons I wanted the engine so low and drop back in that chassis. I mean, look at the hood height. It looks impossible. It's It's got the big bug eye headlights on top. I mean, this is the kickoff point. This is what I was hoping to see. Obviously, it's gonna need to be sectioned. The back's gonna need to be totally rearranged. I guess we start by positioning the cowl where it belongs and then start building body structure. You know, right now it is 5 pieces of loose scrap metal.
Scrap metal.
First step is just a few trims off of this cowl so we can see what we're up against as far as proportions. Look at that height difference. Alan, your firewall's on fire. Don't call it a hot rod for nothing. That's the tricky part at this stage because, you know, I want impossible proportions, but you gotta look graceful in the impossibility. Look at this sloppy jalopy. It's coming together already.
I personally think he gets a kick out of me sitting there dumbfounded, trying to figure out what's gonna be next.
I'm feeling it, man. One authentic pirate ship steering wheel, and we are off to the races. It's a pretty loose mock-up, but I think this ship is just about ready to sail. I'm in love with it already. You haven't lost one yet, Captain.
No, sir.
Just getting started. The next step is to continue with the cowl and get into position to work with the hood and the fenders. I'm going for maximum chop, and a little bit too much, it's not gonna fit. So it's kind of a make it or break it moment. Looks like we can section it a lot. You know, if you're looking at this, you could even do up to like a 10-inch section before you get into that, because the hood should be landing here.
On top.
Think maybe let's try an 8-inch section. I mean, that's still huge.
That's a lot. Sounds ludicrous, but it makes a little sense.
8 is great.
8 is great.
Over this winter, I lost pretty much my best friend. Our shop inspector, dude. The cancer got him. It's been pretty quiet around the shop lately. When dude walked in the door, he was just weeks old, and he took right to it. He became the shop inspector immediately. He was such a ham. I never knew a dog with such robust attitude. He was enthusiastic, he was always there 100% for the cause, and man, he loved his treat. The one big takeaway I got from my relationship with him was that I didn't even understand what compassion was, I think. Something that I really learned, how to care for something other than myself in that kind of way. We were bonded, right? Pretty cool. Lil's been here for quite a while as well. She's with dude for more than half of his life, so it's only fitting that we introduce some young blood. To what honor do we owe the visit? The shop inspector's shoes are big ones to fill. I think he's feeling a little intimidated.
Very intimidated.
I haven't heard a word out of you since we got you. Once the word hits the street on the unusual proportions going on in the shop, the inspectors come in like flies on honey.
I think he wants to pee on the tire.
I don't know, you're just a baby. He's all smiles and licks for now, but he's only 17 months old. I'm sure his critique is going to develop. I'm coming over. Yeah, while we're upside down, let's just get in, we'll clean all this out. This hardware should come apart and the wood should just come out.
Man, what this thing come out of? Noah's Ark?
By retaining these hood mounting points, it's gonna assist me in lining up everything. 8-inch section is gonna be massive. I don't know if it's gonna make the door hinge alignment weird, but we gonna find it. Super heavy.
It's got to be that radio that's so heavy.
Is it that heavy?
What kind of radio is that?
I think because we didn't mess with any of these mounting points, we could bolt this or clamp it right to the chassis and just set the lid on, see how it looks. Wow.
I know. That looks radical, man. Maybe we should have went 7 inches, maybe.
Plenty of room. No, it was exact. You couldn't have sectioned it 8 1/4 inches. That's for sure. That's the name of the game. We're not going halfway on this project. It's Pedal to the metal, Captain.
Look at this. Here.
I mean, we're doing it right. Clearance for days.
Oh, buddy, look at that.
The hood hinge bolts line up.
Thing gives me the chill bumps, man. Look at that thing.
This is exactly what I was thinking from the start. It's like the cartoon supervillain's car, right? This is his getaway car. He's like, he gets in his car, he's gone. What we're dealing with is we want to use the hinges right here, right? But I love the look of the round back of it. We're gonna have to fuse the two doors together. We're gonna have to use the front of the front door and the back of the back door.
So you're going from a 4-door to a more door.
It will be more of a door than what it wore before. As cockamamie car building ideas are these anyway. The first step in the door process is to section the door frame, make sure that the hinges are parallel and see if it's gonna go. We could cut this structure apart from the skin and just move this box. Boom, move the hinges back together.
And then the bottom of the door will be hanging, and we just trim off the excess.
Theoretically.
In theory, it sounds perfect.
Hey, at least we have a good theoretical plan. Sometimes I have a plan that's disastrous in theory from the start. You're always trying to cut through the flattest part. So look at that, 8 inches. We got our hinges in place. So this goes away, and then this slides to that. Make me look good.
Woo,
Make
one
me
shot.
look like a champion.
No pressure, right?
That's gonna just slip up like we described. And we cut off the bottom later. While Alan finishes up the door section, I'm gonna cut apart the rear door so we can merge the two together for our super door. Don't move a muscle, I got the perfect look for you. It's giving you trifocals. Can't be too prepared.
Now look at this door.
Mini door. Stick it in that hole over there, see if it works. Yeah, give it the wiggle jiggle. Ooh, looky there. I think we're gonna cut right through both skins. We're gonna loosen it right up. Let's just do a big rough cut and we'll shut it up. Yeah, wow.
Yeah, no seams through the door, because it all looks like we can just put it back together and drive it.
I'm starting to channel Victor now. No, we're looking at this. We're looking at proportions. I gotta put on the right blinder because the back is so out of proportion right now. From that rear tire forward, this thing is gnarly. It's just like, okay, put one hand there. Look at that, wow. It's all about self-esteem. Just lie to yourself. Lie right through the process and hope you come out on top.
I'm seeing it now. We're in the same boat and we're paddling.
Once we got the cowl fitting on there really good, we got the front end put on. It's just looking like a roadster, and I'm thinking, man, this is gonna be pretty rad.
Next challenge is like, what happens with the windshield and that rear deck? That's really bugging me.
Yeah, that thing looks like a stink bug back there.
Yeah. No glory in the underpinnings. It's all just fabrication, no styling. So we got all this business tied together. Did front structural support, got the cowl all welded together, top and bottom, bolted the fenders on, started this little tube chassis to support the rear of the car, and tied it all in with sheet metal. The gas tank in this Cadillac, like so many other cars, hung below the floor in the trunk. Because it's so low, we don't want that to rip on any obstacles in the road, so we're bringing it up into the trunk a bit. Yeah.
There it is.
Everything we've done so far is just pure layout. The next step is styling the roof line, but I want to get everything secure. You know, now it's a car again, but it's like anything goes. Is it a roadster? Is it a fastback? I mean, it could be anything. This is gonna have to move down to here somewhere. Let's just cut this off. I got a couple ideas. I think the back end of this car was beautiful as is, but as soon as we sectioned it, it was like, whoa, look at this massive overhang. We gotta do something stat. Sometimes the best way to see through a project is to break it down to a blank slate and start adding back on. All right, let's put this on the table.
Everything on this car was built so big. I mean, most of the time that was your luxury car in the 30s. So now we're trying to go from a luxury car to a speedster or roadster or Hot Wheels or whatever it is.
I mean, it's so low, it's like it's almost lost some of its presence. You know?
Right.
It's like it's just down to nothing.
It's like the saying, how low can we go? We're there.
I've never been one to say, whoa, this car's too low, but I mean, come on, who's gonna be cruising this thing? A couple of chipmunks?
Seems like we were going one direction and now we're going the total opposite.
It looks so good. I'd hate to busy it up with a whole bunch of styling that would take away from the look of those two boat tail fenders.
Right, it's almost like less is more.
Yeah. I think we should put this welder away and grab some of those scrap parts. Do a little stacking.
Back to the scrap pile.
The old Dodger Lodger. This is the third project that this one's involved in. These are the remaining pieces from the camper project. I always love the fastback look, you know, in comparison to the Cadillac, that square back of the roof, I love this.
Yeah, you can't beat the fastback look.
Maybe it'll work. Let's try it out.
Yeah, let's see.
My favorite body style, hands down, is the slope back roof, like that 47 Dodge. Wow, I don't know, man. That like fits too good. Like it needs to be chopped for sure, but
Woo, come on now.
right?
Dang, dude.
That works good.
Whoa. If you follow the body line on the Dodge, it follows the fender.
Right? The
Exactly.
trim works perfect.
Every time we put a new part on it, it completely changes the direction of the build. You know, we think it's going this way and all of a sudden it's going that way. And sometimes we gotta go backwards.
I mean, we have no back window. We have no deck lid. It's all been used on the Bug. No roof skin. So there's that.
That's a lot of problems in one
package, right?
one package,
Yeah.
definitely.
Pains me to my core to be the voice of reason, but sometimes the shoe fits, or doesn't even exist in this case. Maybe we should put the Cadillac roof back on and just check out the window, because it's like this is gonna have to meet the front windshield somewhere, you know?
And see what it looks like.
Yeah.
I agree.
She's a biggin'. Whoa, wait a second. Wait a second. Look at that. It's a station wagon. Oh, that's right, I shortened it 22 inches. It's like, holy station wagon.
You can see it now.
That's a freak show. Yapple dapple.
You know, the best accidents are happy accidents, right?
I'm happy. Putting that Cadillac roof on there, the square back, it knocked me out. I'm just like, I had not seen that before.
It just screams old school gangster. It's low, it's wide, it's rusty. It's just so cool.
I hated this window. Now I love it. I mean, it's got so much more character down there without a big trunk.
Right, it looked like driving Miss Daisy.
I said I wanted you to feel uncomfortable standing next to it. How do you feel?
I'm uncomfortably loving it.
That's like ridiculous. That's not what I was looking for at all. This is the reason you gotta stay open-minded, you know? If you're working on a project and you got it set A through Z, how are you gonna find that inspiration? Sometimes that thing you think you might despise could be the diamond in the rough. I still think it needs a chop. I think we need at least a 2-inch chop through the windshield. I mean, look at that visor. Oh! Oh! That's what an old-fashioned car crash used to sound like. A little more tude, a little more attitude.
A lot more attitude.
We're making a station wagon, whatever it takes.
That's it, for real.
Right?
That's it, I mean, it really is. So I guess the best plan of attack is to have no plan of attack.
100%.
I'm learning.
Why don't you set up the welder and start doing those A-pillars? Let's just tack it on. Stick that Dodge side back on there. Like if you squint, right? So it's like, then you got this little bean-shaped window, and then, you know what I mean? It's like that big back.
It gets more complicated as we go on. But the look is what we're chasing, you know?
At this point, we need to get rid of a few unwanted elements, so let's just cut some stuff apart, change some lines, and see where we go from there. Oh, wow. Knock it that way just a little bit. That's pretty weird.
I didn't think it was gonna work, man, but
That's the weirdest station wagon ever. And then this is the door top. Just skin this out. That's gonna land right about there, huh? You know what I mean? It's like, then it gets it gets weird. Or does it get weird? I mean,
I don't know. We've been swimming in the sea of weird all week long with no floaters.
there's a razor sharp fine line between building something that's different and something that's just plain wrong. Ask me how I know. I don't know if I'm happy with the back window. Does it work, or are we just getting too full of ourselves? Having trouble with that. This is beautiful. This is beautiful. We're back to the big square part that I didn't like from the start.
Exactly.
It's got a real odd feeling. I don't think it's a very good looking car at this point.
Everything's going great until you get punched in the face.
After a loose mock-up, I had the old stare down with the car. Had to figure out what I liked and what I didn't like.
Knock, knock.
What's happening?
Hey, what's going on?
I made a couple changes.
I see the window's gone. Man, did you lower the roof?
2.5.
2.5
2.5
inches.
inches. You know, the fenders are sloping, the hood is level, and the roof was doing that stink bug, you know, the hood and the roof were colliding.
When the window was out of there, all of a sudden the back of the roof doesn't look like this huge bubble anymore. The hood is so long, the fenders are so long, and then you got this roof line that's just so long and smooth and goes all the way to the back. It just looks so good.
For some reason, the Dodge windows, none of it's even working for me. If we were to change the whole thing to a Dodge style roof, rear window included, then all the Art Deco business, you got bump, 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 window, right?
Right, it gets a
Cadillac
little busy there.
doesn't offer any of that.
I do remember that it made this look extra big.
If the Dodge windows are just putting us in the wrong direction, what about the stock Cadillac door tops? Right? That's what was in the door.
So this was the rear window.
That's the rear of the four-door car.
Okay.
And then this is the front. So they were like this. It's a four-door. Boom, boom. Look how long that is. That's a massive
huge.
entry. So I was like, well, shoot. I mean, these go right back in the door.
Oh man, yeah.
Right?
I mean, if it's back,
We would do the old switcheroo. That goes there, and we got extra long. So we only have one weld in the center instead of two when you splice it in. So it all lines up. And I also had an idea for the back of this. So I had this piece of the Dodge roof. I don't think I want a window in the back at all.
the Dodge lives on.
It's a little piece and everything.
I mean, it really solves the problem of the big gap in the back.
You got rust, you got chrome, you got slope. What's not to like?
The trick is just to make it look like it came that way. Make it look like it was a two-door from the beginning.
I'm doing the two tricks with one trick. While Alan wraps up that door, I'm gonna get started on our new old window frames. Let's throw a B-pillar in, and then we can attach that sheet. Like the rest of the car, I wanna keep these doors in loose assembly before we commit to anything. It's really one piece at a time and everything all at once. Pretty good for a mock-up. So the Dodge drip rail might actually make the cut. The only piece.
Oh.
We'll meet the Cadillac right about where the visor is. And then they'll put a little hood over this chrome so it just looks more factory.
Yeah, the drip rail gives it so much attitude.
Heck yeah. Let's do the old magnet mock-up. Oh yeah, see? That brings the line right through. All the scars from the welding, they tend to confuse things, but look at that.
I know, and it matches the fender still.
It does.
How does that happen? Drip rails are like the cherry on top.
It's more of a custom trick to shave the drip rails. It just gives that car that super smooth, unbroken line appearance. So adding it in kind of messes with some folks. In a perfect world, this would just go right down. And we could
Right.
pull this to that shape, but I wonder if we could take that deck lid and maybe make something happen here. There's no turning back now. Grab a side.
All right, let's see.
On the car, you know, it's sitting like this, but I
Right.
started looking at it sideways, a little lean, and I'll be darned if that curve doesn't look like it matches the curve of the back window. You know, typically the car would be like that.
Right.
No, 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 I'm talking about this. Look at that.
Oh, man.
I'm quite amazed, actually. To take something that's horizontal and make it vertical and it works, gives me a shiver.
It looks like it just might work.
It's so sneaky. People are gonna think it's some kind of mutant Cadillac from another dimension.
It's Scraptastic.
Alan and I took some time. We got the roof structure locked in place, and now it's time to get this deck lid fit up and assembled. I want it to work just like it used to, but in a smaller form, the little handle, the latches, the whole kit. These are gonna get trimmed back to fit up with that, and then this is gonna get cut and widened, and then the sides are gonna get cut and fit in, and then they're all gonna get welded to the car before we take it to the cruise night.
Next week.
I was hoping to go this afternoon.
This afternoon.
Instead of cutting all this apart, what if we just took this mechanism out and split this?
Probably make life a little easier.
I think so. Right now, we're in the discovery phase. We're just slamming this together as proof of concept. If this idea holds water, we'll come back and clean it all up. It's even got the authentic haunted house sound.
Yeah,
How many welds did we put in that thing?
probably 1008.
Latch works, hinges work, surround is there. This worked out pretty clean, man. Very satisfied. I mean, having a back hatch on the station wagon is sort of a critical thing because you got to get in there. And having this one as a miniature thing with a fixed window, it makes almost no sense at all. It's just perfect. Corners are going to be a challenge. You got a pretty tight curve. How's it all come together?
Every day is a different view because, like, we don't have these parts on it yet. We put them on and it completely changes the entire build.
There ain't no room for junk in that trunk. There's only funk in the trunk. Once we put that deck lid on, it was like, okay, the roof can work for sure. Let's just carry on with these doors. Finished parts of the rocker panels, put some structure in through here, little skin up and into the car. Biggest part of the day was creating these tube structures in the doors. Both sides are pretty much square, gaps are close, and they shut proper. With each cosmetic design change we come up with, we gotta come in twice as hard on the reinforcement part of the thing. There's gotta be structure to secure everything, so what you're seeing is just the surface. It's kind of a left brain, right brain thing all at the same time. The last of the outside skin are these rear quarters. We might have those stock ones that we could cut and do the whamma-jamma to. I don't know.
That'd be in a perfect world.
I mean, we can clearly see the metal's got to do this, right? And then come to a curve. But I don't know if that sheet metal can afford that. It's already a stamped piece. I mean, it looks like it fit, right? You know as well as I know, there's no piece of that car that's truly unusable until we try it, flip it, and really explore it in many different configurations. It's the flip it upside down and put it on the other side trick. Driver's side, flip it and reverse it to the passenger side.
Working with Ian is very challenging. I mean, I have to stay open-minded because some of his ideas are like head scratchers.
And we have a whole range of curvature we can choose from.
I mean, pretty much it fits like everything else did in the beginning.
Like a glove. Would it work if we tried, say, to put this here? Maybe that'll even
Oh
work.
man, that
Look at
kind of looks pretty good.
You know what? Whoever came up with that flip it upside down and reverse it technique is cockamamie. That works. This works much better.
Might be on to something there.
It takes a big man to admit he was wrong. Let me know when you find them, because I'd like to give them a piece of my mind. Let's try this for the heck of it. The challenge here is that we have these really deep dished curves, and then it's not needing that much of a dish.
Oh, okay. You're getting somewhere. Look at this. It might go.
It's a real compound curve. It's kind of like a saddle and a horse. It's like this way and then this way at the same time. Yeah, just give it a nice.
Sweet.
I got my ace fabricator welder on this one. I ain't scared. That's the story, sir. Later, I might put a bumper. You know, I'm not sure how it's going to trim out in the end, but the sheet metal, look, it's complete.
Fenders come out, they come back in, and then the smiley face, boat tail, voila.
Looking at the back of this is pretty surprising. You know, it's full custom for sure. Kind of weird, a lot of nonsense, not very user-friendly. Win. And I know you got to take off, but the party's just starting. Like we just got a raw idea started here. You know, it is that pile of scrap that was on the trailer.
What have we created?
For sure. I mean, we slammed on this thing.
I think just the love of customs is to be able to create something from nothing. You see that pile of junk in your backyard? Don't throw it away. It may be something special.
I got a lot of ideas still to go on this, but Alan and I made some serious strides, you know, some heavy-hitting decisions at the beginning of this whole trip. There's just one last thing, man. The last of his legacy.
Oh, man.
Right? So I
Wow.
think had he been here, you would have been approved.
Man, thank you. Thank you so much. Yes. It's like, ooh. All the way from dog heaven.
The heavy fabrication, like the structure of the car, is complete. It's there, 100%. Now it's like, all right, it's a pretty weird design. You know, how do we start to tie this together? You got this square back end and like a nice flowing fender. It's not a perfect harmonious balance, but the more I was looking at it, it's like, well, what's really bugging me? It's actually the wheel opening. There's also one issue that's been bothering me because we're very deep into the fabrication at this point, and there's still no piece of Volkswagen in this project. So I think we're gonna put a piece in. So this is a piece of the leftover roof skin from that chop top Volkswagen Johnny Jalopy and I did. Like it's got just about as much crown as that fender does. And then it wraps this way as well. Look at that, it's like just like the fenders want to do. They roll right under. So that there might be a donor if I got enough room. Oh yeah, look at that. I think what I'm gonna do is make a wood buck hammer form, it's called. Sort of like what I did on the bubble top project, where you have a backboard and then you have a retaining ring, but instead of heating plexiglass and inflating it, we're gonna clamp it down and hammer the edge so it's kind of like a little dish. One question I get on the regular is how do I keep coming up with ideas for new projects? I just always have a million different ideas, and really it's about like what's presented to me. You know, I don't like specifically hunt for a certain thing. It's mostly like kind of what washes up. Immediately your eye is going through here like, okay, well that'll be the bottom of the fender. Some skirts will have like a little raise in it and like a teardrop sort of flowing out like the fender. I'm gonna put the steel in place and then make that decision. Volkswagen roof sandwich. Why am I using this many clamps, you may ask? I'm about to beat the living heck out of this with a big old hammer. A nice little dish. I think the most important aspect of this type of thing is confidence. Don't hit it with questions, hit it with answers. You're gonna tell that metal what to do. I was thinking maybe there would be like a little deco swoop kind of at the bottom of the thing, but that back fender line is right there. I'm gonna put that right in the sheet metal brake, straight shot. The back of the fender comes right through. No wheel opening. Now the question arises, how are you gonna keep that thing in place? I think I was gonna put a couple simple clips. Let the tow truck driver figure it out. People ask all the time, oh, how do you get the tire off of that car? It's like, I don't care. sipping a margarita by the seaside while AAA's over there, digging my car out of a mud puddle. This car building thing's not all it's cracked up to be. It'd probably be me laying in the mud puddle with a Phillips screwdriver, not even a screw gun, cursing the world. Ooh, that classies it up. Straight shot, no extra action. Puts that back end on the ground for sure. I just want to prove one thing to my brain before we go any further. My whole MO in this shop is problem solving. If I see something that's not pleasing to my eye, I'm going to work to it and try to remedy it. Carry on. See that already starting to come in. Colors and shapes matter. I just need to breathe some paint fumes to really get in the zone. And I gotta say, I'm feeling a lot better about this. I just want to blank out the hard contrast between the skirt and the fender. In the end, I'm gonna work on that. I didn't know how this was gonna work out like most other things. VW roof equals fender skirt in this town. I'm gonna do the same thing to the other side. Boom, boom, boom. Back is just about there. Front's pretty loose. It's time to bring it all together. All right, getting onto the front end of this thing. It came with all of this chrome grille stuff in the trunk, but it looks like it was from two different cars. So I'm gonna try to put this antique pile of mess back into something that looks like a car grille. The hidden mysteries of car building. Never a dull day. Look at this dimension on this thing. It's like freaking Star Trek or something. Boomerang from outer space. Wow. Look at that. Looks like we're off to a normal start. 1 minute in and I'm already digging the hole deeper. This piece of tin was all bent. Al and I just put a temporary spreader bar in there when we set the fenders up, but now it's like, is it the right width? Is the front end bent? You see what happened here? It literally just fell apart in my hands. I'm gonna try to take this mess and put it over there without breaking anything else. This grille's a big part of the original Cadillac look, and I'd love to see it incorporated in this car, you know, kind of the Easter egg, the hint at what it was. So I'm going to start by putting this thing together and see what's missing. And they look like they're going together. Because we sectioned it 8 inches, the grille's 8 inches smaller, so it looks like I'm gonna get away with just modifying a couple of these things. There's 3 that are no bueno. There's just something about this car that was always interesting. Growing up as a kid, my mom and my aunt showed me this movie called Harold and Maude, but the star of the show for me was always the car. It was a really nice Jaguar, and the opening scene in the movie is him taking an oxyacetylene torch, lighting it, and heading into the garage with his brand new car. And when it comes out, it's looks a little bit like this, the same flavor. I was like, what, 5 years old? And my mom's like, you gotta watch this. This guy reminds us of you. At the time, it didn't mean anything to me. But now it's all falling into place. One more. Some might say, Ian, don't you ever start with a car that's like in decent shape, that hasn't been completely thrashed, thrown by the wayside? The answer is no. Cars that are thrown by the wayside, scorned by society, are always welcome here. It's a repeat performance over and over and over and over. That looks like a grill to me. It's very crooked right now, but I like it. One thing in modifying these grill bars, there was no piece in there for the original hardware to screw into, so there was 2 or 3 that were just floating in space. I realized that there are holes through that grill for whatever reason, and I had a piece of steel rod that fit them perfectly. Please don't break. Kept them in line. Yes! Look at that, nice and strong now. Plug this pup in and see what we're working with. There it is. Boom. Not too bad for 2 grills, some broken parts, a dream. Next step is to remedy this area here where there's nothing going on, but fortunately, we have the original side pods. Really good illustration of how much we section this car, right? The hood used to sit here, but rather substantial. Really cool to have these original hood sides because it's a simple trim and fit scenario. One mini side pod. Looking pretty snazzy. Hood sides, grill. That's what this thing needed. Now you got a face only a mother could love. I gotta say, there's still some work ahead, but it's really coming together. This thing looks like it's ready to go to the Monster Mash Halloween party of the century. Fab is pretty much there, a couple little decorations, but next up is driving it. I want to see how this thing runs out. Another project in the bag. It started off as this crazy, super loose concept, but here we are out on the street. I gotta say, it's not a good looking car. I think this is the coolest, ugliest car I've ever made. There's something like so appealing and so weird about it, it's hard to put a finger. I'm really excited about the way this thing works. For a 38 Cadillac with a super short wheelbase to behave like a 1987 Lincoln with a 5.0 power plant, pretty rad. This is Dracula's gangster ride, so it's gotta have airbags. Wow. I gotta tell you, it's all fashion in this one. I built some weird stuff, but this ranks pretty high on the weirdo meter. Definitely a kick to drive. I had no concept of what it was gonna be when we started, and this is just what it evolved into. The weirdness of leaving the big roof and turning it into kind of like a shooting brake, I think they're called. It's not a hearse, it's not a station wagon. It really did build itself, so to speak. I chose not to paint this. I did a little spray can effect just to keep the multiple tones sort of in check, but the idea is this is raw. If this was finished, it would be a different car. People might take it seriously. I think the rust and all the old chrome and everything being so antique makes people like, what tomb did this thing crawl out of? We didn't do any metal forming on this at all. It's simple cut and weld. We just took the puzzle apart and reassigned the pieces. The only new piece of steel I used was on the little running board section under the door. The rest of the thing is all Cadillac and 2 pieces of Volkswagen hood for the fender skirts. All this stuff could have gone to the junkyard, you know? All it takes is a ridiculous ambition and a little help from your friends. I really wish Alan was here to take a cruise with me, but all in all, I think he's really become a believer in the scrap pile adventure. I think you gotta be a little daring and a little ready to jump off cliffs to attempt something like this. He embraced it, went right in. I mean, this car would have never developed into what it is without his assistance. Who knows where it could go from here.